Okay, it is currently 7:16 a.m. and that's my tea kettle, apologies, but I have to start. It's time sensitive. So it's 7:16 a.m. It is Friday, March 29th, 2024, and I'm capturing the same exact light activity that's not precise. This is not the same exact light activity. This is the same pattern of conduct. The entity has changed its behavior, its cycling of the engineered light inside of my apartment. But it is the same exact pattern of conduct. The presence of impossible light, which is engineered light, unnatural light, not only based on the character of this light, but the position of the light source, which is the entity's false and unintelligent and unrealistic, literally, illusion that's the sun outside of my living room window, and this is sunlight inside of my apartment, magnified through closed blinds on top of that. Also taking on the same pattern of these closed blinds, which appears on my ceiling, as you've also witnessed that, while the entity engages in that same pattern even in my bedroom, while the light source still remains on this side of the apartment, and also while this light appears in the depths of my apartment, including through the closed door. You have the concentrated light that appears concentrated and all the rising up all the way up to the ceiling. You've seen all of that. The entity engaging in the appearance of this light, you're going to remember, and this is why I document it, because not only is this clearly not the sun and not sunlight, the pattern of conduct is already established, the state is already prosecuted, okay? This is going for what is research purposes, for educational purposes, for informational purposes, okay? The entity is engaging in what is the maintenance of light that has appeared differently, okay? While engaging in the same exact conduct, which is under no circumstances even naturally occurring, okay? And a lot of that, well, actually, I'm not going to say, it is entirely based upon the fact that I am breaking down a demonic system that's entirely unnatural. And you have also witnessed real-time reaction by the demonic, as I've explained that to you. For example, the flashing of light on my bedroom wall while I'm talking about the presence of impossible light, and this being the evidence of demon possession. And you've seen real-time like flashing of light. There's no light work show that's going to appear ever from sunlight that's supposed to be remaining stationary on my. So that's the real-time response of the demon possessed, this demonic environment, and the demon possessed who engage in stalking in the path with light. While they want to outwardly appear like normal human beings, like you and whoever is watching, that does not have the spirit of Satan on them, because I'm not going to reference every person that's watching this. Like the entity is literally watching the documentation, watching their own exposure. But anyway, so it's 7:16, and the reason why I chose this time is, again, you already know the time frame that I'm going to remind you of is captured in March of 2022, where I am at third-party facilitating venue. Actually, Mercy House, it's an organization that presents itself to the public as one helping extending resources to the homeless. And while they are doing that on the surface, meaning they provide food, they provide you a list of homeless services. And while they are literally there occupying space at an address, which is publicly listed, meaning, and they are in every way performing the outward duties of somebody claiming to be an organization, they're engaged in, Mercy House may very well be a state facilitating venue, but that detail is neither here nor there for now. They are a venue, okay? It is not an organization operating under the rights of the law. That's a venue. The state is monitoring. They are malicious guys under which the pattern of conduct was fully underway, and they are a violent sex offender. And that is how the law is going to treat them when you provide criminal facilitation, meaning the state is present through you. And that's how the state, and if you think about it, take a step back, what is demon possession? Satan is present through a person utilizing a vessel. This is what's happening while the government is utilizing the people. So if you can imagine that in your mind, that's what's going on at a macro level. But Mercy House is a venue. And at Mercy House at 435 South Bonneview, the entity is rising the sun, just like you see here. This is supposed to be the sunrise, which you already know. We've already broken this down. This isn't even remotely close to what would happen if the sun was if this was actually a natural environment. In other words, let me put it that way. If this was actually the natural environment and the sun was in any position to rise over the hillside, facing my apartment, which is at Alvarado Gardens, which you know that it couldn't be under any circumstances. The documentation already exists stating otherwise, and the entity is in the evening, 10 hours from now, engaging in the conduct as though the sun is also setting, okay? But let's just disregard all the facts that we already know for a second, entertain the illusion. If the sun and the natural environment were actually present, there would be no sunlight appearing in this manner, okay? The entity did way too much. You're talking about what is going well beyond, and this is showing the obsession of the stalker, the malice of the entity, getting to the extent to where, going to the degree to where going to the extent to where they literally, not only is this ridiculously impossible to occur, the entity was convinced that nobody could ever pinpoint what's going on. The targeted individual would never be believed. No one's going to listen to them anyway. Their intention is to have the target individual discarded and disregarded and also defamed. Okay, so you're supposed to be written off as some paranoid schizophrenic. Who's going to listen to your analysis about what's natural sunlight and about what's not possibly the sun and about the maintenance of a light source, which is supposed to be nobody's ever going to hear that. Okay, nobody's ever supposed to hear that. Okay, that's not what's going on here. This is the prosecution of an entity. And I want to be clear, the entity is engaging in the maintenance, as we've already seen, day in and day out, while the Los Angeles Police Department provided a wealth of ongoing corroborating evidence while they are stalking in the environment. That's exactly what that is, corroborating behavior, which is evidence against the people of the state. The entity is engaging in conduct as though the sun is rising here at the hillside, where, by the way, hours from now, you're talking about 11 o'clock in the morning, 12 o'clock in the afternoon, okay, and even after that time. While I walked out of my apartment yesterday at 1:32 p.m., the light source was still right here over my head, right here while I stood on the sidewalk, not the sun, okay? And that's where you are able to analyze by isolating the universe to here. And why do I speak in such terms? Because the demon-possessed, this entity that's engaged in monitoring, places the center of the universe is the targeted individual, okay? So you're understanding how I'm not making any statements based on some overinflated ego. I'm letting you know about what is the psychotic obsession of the demon-possessed who are targeting an American citizen. And you are the center of the universe by virtue of their placement of the sun and the moon, okay? And everything that they are doing is centered around you. All the construction work that's going on while the entity is stalking and aware of the fact if you've got a schedule and you're going to a doctor's appointment, all the entity knows this. Everything is set up for everything that you're doing, that you plan to do, that you need to do. Everything about your life is public information. And the universe is literally surrounding upon what you do, what you might end up doing abruptly, or what they already know that you plan to do. And it is also occurring in the environment, which the people of the state are engaging in, maliciously maintaining that environment no matter where you go. Okay, so the entity is maintaining a light source over 435 South Bonneview. Indeed, I will upload this evidence to the Compare the P.O.C. folder, and you will see multiple videos where at 435 South Bonneview, the same venue, by the way, where the entity has a light source over my head hours from now. So 7 o'clock in the morning, the sun is rising. Impossible light is facing, that is the leaves, the branches on the tree are appearing on the wall that I'm facing, and you're looking at a demon that's crossing path in that engineered light, crossing path with me. That's group stalking on video while the entity is group stalking by commercial airline planes. And they're not taking off over 435 South Bonneview. They are hovering and even engaging in that same amplified audible activity of plane engines, even while they're at a heightened elevation. But this is what the entity was doing because there's an Ontario airport in the Inland Empire. The entity is, again, engaging in that which is foolish. All right, assuming that it's never going to be capable of being established and that the targeted individual is one that is incapable of ever proving and prosecuting at that, all right, or literally articulating what is going on. The entity is engaging in hovering over the venue with planes. But I want to be clear, the Ontario airport is not right there beside the 435 South Bonneview. So they have taken off and already flown a distance. They are intentionally and necessarily remaining at a lower elevation in order to have that presence directly over 435 South Bonneview and that amplified plane activity. But I want to be clear, where planes are taking off from the Ontario airport, they would at the location where they're at. And you'll see this routinely. Even they do this over the Stater Brothers on Hope Boulevard. Why are you hovering over the parking lot where you'll also see the light source over my head, where you will also see the impossible light activity that that you know covers the ground. This is engineered light everywhere, not sunlight, but also the clearly engineered light, the light that you see that's appearing on the ceiling, all of that light. When you see that environment and they're hovering in airplanes, they're group stalking. The entity is using commercial airline planes and helicopters. And the sun is rising, okay, in alignment to me at 435 South Bonneview, which I capture at 7:11 a.m. And you're looking at impossible light that's on that wall that I'm facing. The entity is engaging in demonic patrolling, one plane after another after another. Not only are you looking at the lowered elevation of these planes, it's amplified audible activity. The entity follows where I go with this lowered elevation of planes. As I travel, the entity engages in this ongoing patrolling using commercial airline planes. And this was a core means of group stalking in Ontario because they had an airport, thinking that because you have an airport in the city that nobody's ever going to be able to suspect that you're group stalking. That is the false premises upon which the entity engages in group stalking and monitoring using commercial airline planes. And again, this is informing the federal government about the need to not only raid these airports, but you're talking about the revocation of licensure and the ability now to prevent those that are of a condition which you are fully capable of detecting. You are aware of the fact, you're cognizant of it, you're educated about the environment. There's so much more levels to analyzing a person, which again, the government and agencies, you analyze people, you're aware of things on a whole other level, and this is adding to that enhanced knowledge, okay? So the entity is maintaining a light source of 435 South Bonneville, as though that's the sun rising, and you're looking here while I'm in LA, and I have been documenting what's going on in my apartment in the morning as though the sun is rising over the hillside every single day. Engineered light touching all over the apartment buildings, touching all over building 1818, touching all over the hills, all over the homes of the hillside and the distance on the opposite side of my apartment in my bedroom, right? You've got light that's appearing in the depths. Look at this engineered light. While the sun is rising over 435 South Bonneville, where the entity is flying directly over me in commercial airline planes, that's the pattern of conduct. That's not sunlight and that's not the sunrise. That's the demonic environment. It's absolutely impossible to occur even while you're looking at this light source and you're looking at that light. Understand that light has nothing to do with the light source. That's why you see things such as light on my ceiling not only at nightfall, but also during the day. The crack in between these blinds, a concentrated line of light that is, literally, that's the personification of Satan. That's totally creepy and inexplicable, but that's demonic. It has nothing to do with the light source, what you're looking at. This is a false illusion that the ordinary person is never questioning. You're never looking twice at it. But that's impossible light activity. It's also impossible while the sun is rising at 435 South Bonneville. In Ontario, California, this is Mercy House, a facilitating venue, heavily documented engaging in what is harassment in concert with the Ontario Police Department, engaged in what is corporate invasion of privacy in the private space. What that is, they were monitoring me, group stalking and harassing, terrorizing by plane and helicopter, and engineered light with the light source directly over my head at 435 South Bonneville at all times of the day. That is sun rising in the middle of the day and setting at this venue where they are monitoring with the Ontario Police Department, who are violent sex offenders. Again, engaging in the pattern of conduct which is inherently sexually violent. While my panties are down, they're engaging in flying in circles in relevant position, monitoring me. All right, fully aware of what I'm doing. That's a demented, terrorizing sex offender, and that serves no legitimate purpose whatsoever. And so you're understanding what is the demonic core of this criminal conduct, okay? The demonic core of this criminal conduct that is underway by a government, all of those of whatever socioeconomic status that they arrive. You have Arrowhead Regional Hospital, who arrives at the facilitating venue, for example, in the same exact specific environment, which you're going to juxtapose with what's going on at Alvarado Gardens from the beginning till the end of the day. And the entity is also maintaining the same specific environment at nightfall, okay? Multiple shadows here, multiple shadows in Ontario, Fontana, Upland, it's the P.O.C. The entity is maintaining a specific environment while Arrowhead Regional arriving at the venue to engage in what is criminal presence. While they're engaging in what is the monitoring conduct, when they're just bearing another name, but I want to be clear, it's legally significant. It's legally significant, the names that they bear while they're monitoring on behalf of the state. Arrowhead Regional Medical Center is San Bernardino County, and they are documented engaging in the pattern of conduct. They're also engaging in what is an act of kidnapping with that same department, stalking me day and night, the Ontario Police Department. They are monitoring, arriving at 435 South Bonneville as a means to engage in what is harassment after they engaged in kidnapping and ongoing criminal defamation. And this is where you're looking at the ways in which the people of the state engage in what is what's supposed to be secret methods of harassing and tormenting the targeted individual while they're demons monitoring you in a specific environment. And you are capable of not only identifying the pattern of conduct, but also the criminal purposes, the criminal intent behind being present in the face of the targeted individual in a malicious manner, such that they are convinced that no one's going to know what they are communicating to the targeted individual by virtue of their presence. You're going to punish for that. That's relevant for punishment. Okay, that mindset, that mens rea, you punish for that. All right, there's no sun that's rising over 435 South Bonneville and also rising over the hillside of Alvarado Gardens outside of my living room window, while it's also not even going to be present at the same time. There's no sunrise that's going to result inside of my apartment while it's rising at 435 South Bonneville. It's also, while it remains, let me be clear, while I documented this and the light source was not only rising, it remained there. I remained at 435 South Bonneville, and you will see in the documentation, it remained right there over my head. And it's just like I told you, the entity engages in this conduct where the sun is rising on one side of my person, remaining directly over my head for the duration of the day, and then setting on the opposite side of my person. And this is what the entity is doing when it is setting this same light source 10 hours from now, 11 hours from now, outside of my bedroom window over building 1818. All right, that's the prosecution of the people of the state. This is a specific environment. There is no sun rising over them or over any hillside. This is also not the sun because it's here hours later, not only till the end of the day, but you can analyze video by video. Video that I'm capturing 8, 9, 10, 11, 4, 5 hours from now, 11, 12, and 1:23 yesterday, 1 p.m., and it's right here over my head. That's the direct evidence against the people of the state. It's also direct evidence against the Fontana Police Department. It's also direct evidence against the Upland Police Department and the Ontario Police Department and the Montclair Police Department. They are in a specific environment. This is the malice with which a public entity that is demon-possessed is engaging in a malicious targeting system in concert with the people of the state. The necessity of maintaining a scientifically impossible environment, one which was designed to never be questioned. All right, but all you have to do is pay attention because this is under no circumstances normal. All right, so you're going to prosecute for that. And also the entity is monitoring on an ongoing basis. So you're also going to punish for what the entity is continuously posing, which is an impermissible threat. And that is how California is always also going to make history, because not only is this establishing precedent for what is a crime committed by the government and the people of the state, which represent the government. Understand, the people of the state are not individuals. They're the vicarious presence of the state. I'm surrounded by the state. I'm literally surrounded by demon-possessed third-party group stalkers. They are in the shoes of the state. That's why the environment is here. All right. That's why the entity is stalking directly in helicopters. Okay. The entity is maintaining this environment, engaging in the ongoing pattern of conduct on an ongoing obsessive basis, while it is monitoring the documentation that's relevant to damages, which are already incalculable and immeasurable. Okay, based on that which you can't even quantify. A government that is stalking you, a government that is monitoring you, a government that's practicing demonic and satanic ritualistic methods in doing so in the most despicable and malicious way, inherently designed to result in the targeted individual not only reasonably questioning their own mental mind state. All right, and that's just based on the pattern of conduct and the reason why you would even question am I being even targeted like this in the first place? Like, what is, that's very troubling, and the government will be prosecuted and exposed for that. But you're also talking about damages, the inability to make one whole after being violated like this. But again, justice requires that you at least try to approach justice and attempt to make that target individual, to make that plaintiff whole. All right. The maintenance of this light activity is the ongoing admission. And this is how you're understanding, not only do you go through the analysis, you're understanding when you are analyzing that, how that's legally significant. It is indeed the ongoing admission against the people of the state and against the state of California. And that's what the people of the state are. Okay, so this is a co-conspirator acting with the state who is stalking directly in planes, helicopters, police, fire, and ambulance. And police includes, let me be clear, it's law enforcement. So you can have the probation department, like you saw those demons group stalking at the Fontana Lewis Library. You can have the police departments. You can have the sheriff's departments, like you saw at the Upland Public Library. Okay, these are all the forms of law enforcement. You can have the pet services division, like the Upland Police like to do. They would still engage in the same pattern of conduct, and you're going to maintain the same exact analysis. Any form of law enforcement, it's equally threatening. They're monitoring. They represent that same actor that wants to. Again, that's the feckless attempt. While they're monitoring and listening to the legal analysis, they're listening to the policies being created as I document. So then they're group stalking in a pet services vehicle. That's literally what they were doing. So you're going to, but that's good for principles. The principle is any form of law enforcement. It's equally threatening. Police officer, the same police department, pet services division. It's P.O.C., okay? And that is unlawful, and that's equally grounds of federal prison. But nonetheless, this is speaking to what is the admission. Yeah, there's not going to be any sun present in the natural environment. 11 hours later, and let's count it again, 5:20 p.m. yesterday afternoon, through my bedroom window, the entity is engaging in, even on a cloudy day. And I told you exactly what they were going to do, and that's exactly what they did. You want to look at this level of magnification. It's literally idiotic what the entity is doing. That has nothing to do with it. The blinds are closed. I keep saying that because I want you to remember that. The blinds are closed, okay? This is not only impossible, it's reaching across. I'm just putting my arm in the air, and this is magnification of light. It is super magnified, and through this, you're looking at the leaves of trees. This is the light activity you see in my bedroom. And you're looking at Bonneview, at 435 South Bonneview. In the videos you will see the in that amber colored engineered light that's hitting the wall, which is the demonic objective to touch surfaces with engineered light. That's the P.O.C. you're looking at, while the sun is supposedly rising, and you're juxtaposing it with, it's not just this that you will juxtapose it with. The entity was engaging in conduct that the sun is rising, specifically over the south side of the Ontario Museum at 225 South Euclid Avenue in Ontario, California, where it's not just the museum, it's on the side of the museum that I was sleeping at. The entity kept the light source hovering over the precise side where I was at. This is what the entity is doing all day long, stalking, keeping the light source over me all day long, which is showing the true obsession of the people of the state and the demons who are blatantly stalking in police, fire, and ambulance, and helicopters and planes. So this is magnification in 435 South Bonview. This is the video you'll see at 7:11, 7:15, I believe, and 7:31 a.m. It's currently 7:36 a.m. And so this is reference to all three of those videos where you're looking at the so-called sun. It's rising, which is not going to, this is not going to happen if that's the natural environment. And this, and what's occurring at 435 South Bonview is not going to happen if this is the natural environment. It's the same analysis. It's impossible. And this light activity in and of itself is speaking to what is not sunlight. It's not natural light. But you'll see on the wall, while I'm at 435 South Bonview, the branches of the trees on the wall. And what is that? That is the engineered light takes on at a distance. So you're hitting the light sources behind these trees. And the light source is shooting like a laser, and whatever it touches, remember, it takes on the shape of whatever it touches. And you're looking at tree branches on that wall because that light source is present, and also it's engineered light. It has nothing to do with the light source. Remember, the two are distinct methods. And you're looking at tree branches that are at a distance. Again, another iteration of what's not even, that's highly unintelligent. When you're analyzing and breaking down what you're looking at, that's all that requires. But it's impossible light activity that the shadow of the tree is reaching and shooting at that distance onto the wall. That's the light source that's present. And that is also engineered light, a distinct method that's on that wall facing where the demon possessed. You see an African-American male who's walking right by in front of my camera. That's a demon that's crossing path. All right, and that's what they're doing in traffic. Those are demons that are crossing path. The maintenance of the environment is for purposes of systematic engagement in the state system. Okay, it is currently 7:38 a.m. This is P.O.C. at Alvarado Gardens. This is 1806 North Alvarado Street, apartment number 6 on the 3rd floor. This is light activity as though this is sunlight. It's not, under no circumstances, and the wealth of documentation and the light activity you've seen in this apartment readily establishes that. The corroborating conduct of the state stalking directly readily establishes that also. They both work as admissions against the people of the state. Remember documentation where the entity is concentrating light through the peephole onto the wall. You remember that impossible light activity? That's P.O.C. Has nothing to do with sunlight or the sun. And I'm just reminding you about what the entity was doing with the so-called sun on another day. All right, that's the value of documentation. And then you're looking at the environment. This is the prosecution of the people. There's no sunlight that's touching building 1818 while it's rising over over 435 South Bonview. And it gives you an ability to see very clearly what the entity is doing. This is demonic. This demonic system is highly criminal. It's an operation by a government. And it's very malicious. All right. There's no sunlight that's going, not only because the sun is rising at 435 South Bonview, but because it stayed over my head at 435 South Bonview. At no point is it ever going to move to be anywhere in any position to aim any light on any of these buildings here at Alvarado Gardens. Here where these demons live, next door where the entity is keeping engineered light on these apartment buildings all day long. That's the criminal objective. It's engineered light touching the surfaces. And they're also engaging in the maintenance of light all the way out in the distance. This is not the natural environment. All right, not the natural environment. This is for purposes of prosecution. This is prosecuting a demonic entity, a public entity that's monitoring you. All right, and light is key to that. And this is what's the significance. This is how the demon possessed are stalking in the path with light. That's what demons do. Just being present, driving your vehicle in the engineered light is how they're stalking in the path with light. You are being monitored while you're on the freeway in the specific environment. You're being monitored in your private space while aiming engineered light. And they do that while they're monitoring my documentation. This is prolonged terms in federal prison. Prolonged. And that's the other basis as to why California is going to be a historic prosecution, not just because it's going to be the first prosecution for group stalking and understanding what group stalking is, but because of the the extent to which the state went and continued in the face of the target individual enforcing their rights. And that is to be underscored, because the point of enforcing your rights, the government shall cease from engaging and monitoring the American citizen, especially becoming aware of it and beginning documentation. I mean, from picture one, they're monitoring, and they know when you start writing notes, when you start suspecting, the government shall cease from engaging. And the point is to stop the government altogether. Okay. But I want to be clear. Evidence of any documentation and the entity continuing, which you have seen for a prolonged term, this is a prolonged term of time in federal prison. This is grounds of what is disbanding, like I advocate. And this is why California will be, this prosecution is going to be historic for that reason as well. California is going to be put on the map for a very bad reason. All right. But that's the reality. All right, you're looking at right now light activity. Remember, this isn't even the sun. None of this is natural light conduct. It's not a cloudy day. You're witnessing real-time demonic. You're not ignorant anymore. The sun is not going to be 11 hours later setting over my apartment, and you're understanding what's going on in traffic or in the parking lot, or as they arrive to work, like Carlo Lopez, or as they're walking out to go to work. All of this environment is present because all of the entity is monitoring. All right. So the entity is engaging in the ongoing systematic means of stalking in the path with engineered light. That's what demons do. And this is how you are able to identify and you are able to prosecute. Okay. Prosecute. That's the evidence. And that's their whole secret system. That's how you break that down. Anyway, it is currently 7:41 a.m. And this hearty discussion, necessary, as verbose as it is, it's necessary. But I'm going to upload to the compare the P.O.C. folder, and you're going to see what Mercy House, again, they're going to federal prison. The director of that office, she routinely engaged in, this is what the malice of the people of the state, they, first of all, the demon possessed, they get a kick out of threatening you and doing so in a way to where they think that on the surface, it doesn't look like no one's ever going to know what's going, because you can't even prove that group stalking, and the target individual they're not even really sure that something is weird. You feel threatened. You feel like people are focused on you, but everybody's looking the opposite direction. You have a hunch when you're being pursued by a bunch of dark spirits, okay? But those spirits you can't see, and you're dealing with psychopaths that look to the left and right, all right? And all you need to do is look up. Where's the light source? Look at the light activity, all right? And is the state stalking you directly? Are you routinely harassed by law enforcement? Do you find yourself in predicaments like that? Okay, now, yes, it might be a little bit more intricate. The documentation shows more, but just to put it on a surface level, they routinely and get a kick out of terrorizing target individual like that. She's going to federal prison. Okay, they're going to federal prison, trying to threaten the target individual. And they did it with knowledge that I'm documenting. That level of malice, federal prison. Okay, the government monitoring and targeting and stalking American citizens is going to be, as a matter of default, grounds of federal prison, period. Okay, it is currently 7:43 a.m. and this is P.O.C.